I know it's 3 o'clock, but I'm gonna hold off just a minute. As you can see, some of the staff here is missing, and the reason for that is they had a full appropriations meeting across the street. It was from 3 to 4. I don't. The state economist is supposed to be speaking, and I couldn't go because I was in another meeting over here. So, but we'll get cranked up as soon as we get a few people here. They informed me the full appropriations committee is still meeting. I was over here for another meeting and didn't get to go, so they should be here shortly. I don't want to be the sole determiner about what happens. We're gonna get started in just a minute. I'm gonna wait about 2 more minutes if we don't get anybody else there. Every committee I think is meeting right now, and just about everybody on this committee is a chairman, and you know they feel obligated to go to their committee meetings. So, besides Al's here, he gives money away. You won't find much fairness in this world, buddy.
You old, that's cold.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go ahead and start. There aren't any quorums for this committee because we don't vote on anything. But there are only 8 people in the committee, and we got 3 here, and no telling when we'll see anybody else. And I don't think y'all want to stay beyond 5 o'clock. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'll say before we begin that I'm gonna be here till it's over, but expediency can be your friend. So. And I know the poor folks from the Department of Corrections. We've met about 5 times this year. I think. Yeah, So let's go ahead and begin. And I'd like to ask Representative Williams, even though he's not the chairman, to ask the blessing.
Let me pray for this chairman. Y'all bow heavily. Oh Lord our God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Georgia. Now keep us in your heart and memory, and as we debate these issues, let us be led to do what is best for the citizens of Georgia. For it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, first up is Georgia Firefighter Standards and Training. And you don't have anything except the universal cost here unless you're going to ask for something else.
I'll turn around.
You're not going to ask for anything else? No, and if that's the case for anybody, I see posts is the same. If you're going to ask for additional funding for something, please come on up. But if you just have the universal deduction, you're free to go. You want to speak?
Not going to take nothing from you.
Come on up.
Wait till you get out the door. We'll talk
Post council. Post council's next.
All right.
All right, good afternoon. Chris Harvey, Director of Georgia Post Council. We have one item that we'd like to present, and I sent it to Ms. Strange Monday morning. I apologize for being late on that. It's to employ Amazon Web Services for Georgia Post. Right now, we currently operate the whole gateway on physical servers in our building. We've lost power twice in the last couple months. The whole system goes down. We also don't have any online storage of that facility, so it's just physically there. The costs, there's a one-time cost of $9,823 for a server that would be required to access the cloud, and then a monthly cost of $2,278, which is $27,318 for a year. So the first year would be $37,141, and then afterwards, subsequent years would be $27,318.
Anybody got any questions?
We just got got to know you, but it's been nice.
Well,
I'm trying to keep-
congratulations. I don't know, you came here the other day.
Yes, sir, I was
though,
here a couple weeks
for
ago.
supplemental, but he's been there at post council for a while now, but he just got moved up to be the director, and
All right.
congratulations on that.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Department of Juvenile Justice.
Don't let me get settled in here.
She's my girlfriend, she won't care.
Alrighty, so I will jump right in. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. We could start out on line item 31.3.4 and 31.4.4. These items are to increase the rates for our psychologists and our psychiatrists. It's a total of $1.2 million in our YDC and RYDC program budgets. 59% of the youth that we serve are on a mental health caseload in our RYDCs, and 73% in our YDCs. So we're just really trying to be competitive in this space so that we can hire more psychiatrists and psychologists and retain the ones that we have. So this increase will give us the ability to be able to increase the hourly rate and increase our contracts so that we can give the youth additional services as they need them, psychological services. I'll move on to our next item, which is our capital projects, and I'll start out with line item 50.1.55, which is Muskogee YDC. I'm going to just jump right to the ask, which is $3.5 million. The reason why we need this is because
Where is this now on the tracking sheet?
it's on capital projects.
Oh, the bonds.
Yes.
We
Sorry
don't really
about-
need to hear the bonds here.
Okay.
Is that all you have?
Yep, that's all we have.
Any questions?
Now, is that the program you said you really didn't like, the bond one?
No, I think
It's the one he
I
loves.
think the program I didn't like sitting in front of me.
Thank you.
I have to go through the makeup.
And I made a little mistake. I know I don't make many often, but I'd already put a check mark by the Department of Community Supervision, and they were supposed to go second. So if you come on up.
No harm, no foul, because we don't have to sit and listen to corrections. So I learned great things from you, Tyrone. I appreciate it. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the committee. We actually have 3 items. One I'd handle at amended. It's on 18.2.3 regarding our Milledgeville office. Mr. Chairman, if you want me to go back over that, I will, or if you want me to just carry on with the other 2 items.
Just give us a quick summary. I remember.
Milledgeville-
I remember it from.
Yes, sir.
Supplemental.
It was a lease for $1 from Georgia Department of Corrections, and they were looking at antiquated facilities that they could raise the property, and so we had relocated that office. That is our largest office. It's a 1 office covering 8 judicial circuits.
Let's move on to the others.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
The other items that we're talking about is basically carryover or request in continuation from the amended, and it is the increased funds reflecting increased retention in the amount of $4.8 million, $34,484. As you know, since the time that the COLAs were introduced, we had managed that in-house, and so now what's happening, we're having to hold positions to make sure that we can meet that. And the amount that I'd mentioned to you includes salary, fringe, training, travel per diem, and recurring technology costs for 50 CSO1 positions.
But that's annualized from what we put in supplemental budget. Right. Okay.
Got it? Yes, sir. The third request is for Columbus Day Reporting Center. Real quick there, it is a 8,200 square foot building that we're currently in. We have outgrown that. And I'll tell you, we have not just officers on top of each other in there, but also we run a day reporting center out of that circuit. As you know, day reporting centers, without them, typically these individuals will be serving time in prison. So we're moving from a leased facility to a state-owned in accordance with the State Properties Commission, and the need is increased to 12,500 square feet to continue that. This is probably one of the longest-standing successful programs within the Department of Community Supervision when you talk about prison diversion and addressing substance abuse. Columbus is one of our, I think it's our second largest circuit. So there is a great need there. It is fully supported by the judiciary as well as the local stakeholders and communities. Quite frankly, without expanding, we would have to reduce our census by about 50%. And if judges don't have other options to send these individuals to, more than likely they're going to go to Commissioner Oliver's facilities. So that's why this is extremely important.
Any questions? That's your last item, correct?
It is, yes, sir.
Yep. You know, in the amended budget, we provided funds to help cover some operating costs for this fiscal year, and I was wondering if that's going to be, if we're going to have a similar situation for the full fiscal year 26, or how are you projecting your need to cover operating costs?
That is one of the things for the Milledgeville you covered for amended, and then that we'll need that carried over for 26. But that's the reason for asking for the funding of the 50 positions, because having to hold them vacant is what is helping us to meet
Right.
our operations.
Well, that's what we've done for corrections for years. It's come home to roost now that we're trying to hire new people. We've given them pay raises from vacant position monies, and they've gone along with it. But now that we're trying to increase because we're about 2,500 short, that we got to fund them just like new positions. So,
That's the same boat we're in, sir.
well, it just looked to us like following that, you were going to have like a $4.8 million deficit. Is that correct?
We would, yes, sir.
Yeah.
When you mention that, I don't blame you. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that's the only way you can meet that is to hold those positions. And then that just means caseloads continue to rise, and they're already high enough.
And like I said about corrections, one day that comes home to roost.
It does.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
so.
That doesn't mean we're not grateful for what you all have done, for sure.
Any questions?
That's good.
You're the only question man right now.
I know. I'm going to bring it on home in a minute.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
All right.
we appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Department of Corrections.
Walk heavy, walk heavy. Walk.
Got a lot, so I don't know how brief you want us to be, but,
No, briefer than that.
well, thank y'all. Any questions? No, we've been with y'all,
My count is this is the 5th time.
yes, sir,
I try.
5th or 6th. I'll try to be very brief as possible. You should have the presentation in front of you. Do you have it? It might be easier to follow it that way than on your tracking sheets, so you don't have to flip back and forth. So we'll start where on the FY26 recommendations for correctional officer salary increases at 4% page, should be about 3 pages in. As you can see, across all programs, start at 19.1 all the way down to all programs. The requested amount to support that 4% increase is it's to the tune of $9.6 million, spread out across all programs. GDC has calculated to the House Budget and Research Office that actual cost is around $11.9 million to cover, to bring new officers on board, and then also those who don't meet the new target salaries to bring them up to the new target.
Is that the compression too?
Correct. No, the compression we'll talk about.
I know it's
next
later, but I just wonder if that is incorporated into
Yes,
that.
sir.
Okay. You think 4% is going to make a difference in your retention?
Yeah, I think so. As you can see, over the last few fiscal years, the pay raises have been made a difference. If you in the next couple of pages, you'll see
What's
kind
that
of
bring it to? Is it almost 50,000?
45.
I thought it was at 46 now.
For close security, it's going to be
Okay,
it, but
okay.
in our other prisons, it'll be 45. 45, 806.
I should've
And
looked
then
at the
for our
chart,
close
shouldn't I?
special mission, it's at 50 for our closed special mission prisons.
Do you still give the 10% award for new employees that have completed military service?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And with that salary increase, and I'll just touch on this a little bit before I move on, we're still a little bit lagging behind. It puts us in line with our neighboring states, and so that's
I can't
definitely
believe we're behind Alabama.
it's
I saw that
definitely
the
gonna
other day.
help Yes. All right, I'm flipping over to the next page. It's the in-grade salary step increases and deal with the compression. As you can see there, spread out across all programs, and the recommended FY26 budget is out 6.1, and you can see where it's broke down at 3.7 based on new salaries. That's a 4% increase based on the headcount from October 2024. The 2.3 is to address the compression for supervisory positions due to the in-grade promotion based on the FY25 CO salaries. We calculated that cost to about 5.5 million, so an increase of we need additional 3.2 to cover that compression out of the 2.3. And that's the compression you were talking about. Flipping over to behavioral health counselor salary increase, again at 8%. That's spread across all programs. That's at 2.2 million for detention centers, state prisons, and detention centers. Same thing for educational chaplains, food service maintenance salary increase at 4%. That's at 1.8.
You saw what we put in for the farm last time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate all that extra funding for the in the amended too. If there's any questions on the educational programs, that's just a spread out across for the technical colleges contract at $800,000. I will say this, that, it's really important that we continue that. We had over 13,000 enrollees in our technical educational programs last year, and we handed out 25,579 certificates earned. So that program is definitely beneficial. So the increase is definitely needed to support that program and also the GED testing. RSAT program at 19.2.8, 19.7.16 against 250,000 for the residential substance abuse treatment contract. That's spread out across the detention centers and state prisons programs to support that program. Talk about health for a minute. As you all know, we talked about this during our summertime discussions and previous meetings that we've had, where electronic health records, that 19.4.4 is the ongoing maintenance costs associated with that. That'll be the ongoing maintenance of bringing that electronic health record in-house. And also contract increases for our mental, dental, and physical health contracts, as you can see there in the spreadsheet. I will say this, I know DJJ kind of touched on it when they were presenting a few minutes ago about the cost of psychologists and mental health services. I did have a previous conversation with our vendor earlier today, and for discussions in future budget discussions, a need for that as well, because we are also struggling to they're struggling to actually hire and retain psychologists and mental health workers for that contract as well. So
That
would be an additional
is that a cost issue, or is that people who don't want to work in a prison issue?
cost issue. And also just touching on that, and then jumping over, I know we talk about our LTAC, but that's in our capital outlay. Currently, GDC pays approximately $2,000 per day for off-site costs for offenders. So we have about $16 million annually that we provide for off-site medical care for our LTAC unit. There's a plan in place to bring those services back behind the wire, and you'll see in our capital outlay at 50.1.46 once we get to that slide. But the return on investment on that will break even It'll pay for itself within the first year by going through with that. So I'll just touch on that while we're in the healthcare contract, healthcare section, and we can have a further discussion when we get to that slide.
Have they got any further with the lawsuit with regard to contract negotiations?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Question on
Yes, sir.
I've been told, I don't know, I've never heard it, that you have a $5 copay on health doctor's visits or health care in the
Yes. Yes, it's $5.
And tell me something. How does a person pay the $5? Let's say he's on a 10-year run. How does he pay the $5 with no income?
It comes out of the inmate account, but if they don't have it, they still are seen by our medical professionals. They don't.
What happens if they don't have it and they get out and they've been to the doctor X number of times? What happens?
It just runs on their account. That doesn't affect their health care. They're still seen by health services. So it's just something that we impose on them to have a little bit of accountability, but they still are seen by medical professionals.
But what about the cumulative balance if they hadn't got it? How do you get paid, or do you get paid at some point in time?
We may not get paid.
May not get paid.
No, sir.
Well, it's kind of hard to get paid when you've been making nothing, But
Yes, sir.
that's what I want to know. Do they carry this debt with them on probation?
Upon release, do they carry that? No, they don't.
They don't carry that debt. Okay.
No, sir.
All right.
And that doesn't apply to chronic care. That
Doesn't
copay
apply to
doesn't.
chronic care?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Good deal.
Let me ask you, what do you do in, I know you require 2 officers to go every time you take somebody to the doctor, but what do you do in a place, and because it's been in the news, like Glenville, if somebody gets hurt there and needs to be stitched or needs to have x-rays or something like that, where do you take them?
Well, we're trying to provide most of those services behind the wire as much as possible, so we can do sutures and things of that nature behind the wire. Sometimes it may require some outside medical, and so one of the things, they'd be transported to a local area hospital there, especially in rural areas. You may see where they utilize helicopters to fly out. It's not that there's anything life-threatening most of the time. It's just a transportation issue to keep the EMS services inside the county.
Well, I know when the incident occurred, the last incident at Glenville, there were 4 officers gone because they'd
Yes.
taken 2 people to the doctor, and they'd taken them to Evans Hospital or
Evans
Vidalia
or
or
Savannah, Chatham County, and that's our standard
well, that's
protocol.
a 70-mile run to
is.
Chatham.
So and that's our standard protocol. Anytime we have an offender go out, we have to send 2 officers. That's a part of the cost. That $16 million we're talking about with the LTAC unit. We have on average about 20 to 25 LTAC patients daily inside of our long-term acute care. So bringing that back behind the wire is definitely going to save on.
Who would suture him? A nurse?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And I understand the 2 people, but it's just with your the number of people you have available in the prisons from time to time, 4 people being missing is pretty significant.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Private prisons, on the next page there, you see where, again, we talked about that. I don't want to belabor that, but the pay parity, 4% increase at 2.9, and the additional private bed increase for 446 private beds at 5.9 million for a total of 8.8. And that's line item 19.6.2.
Bringing them up to parity.
Correct, with 4% COLA increase that we're receiving this year.
Would there any back monies considered going forward, or do we just move forward from this point? And understand there's some goals missing for a period of time in there. Where are we on whatever it is that was missing for several years? And part of the contract, the money didn't show up.
I think the pay parity was there. You might be talking about the operating costs in there.
Right.
But-
Whatever those bills were, where are we on those?
Well, we're still in negotiations and talking to our private peers.
I like that. I've heard that before.
Yes, sir.
But they haven't gotten any COLAs, the private prison, and for what, 12 years or
Yeah, so that's the same. I'm not sure how long.
8 years?
2018, 2019.
When I'm that far past due, and they don't let me start from zero, they don't want me to go back 8 years.
Yeah, and And we're kind of seeing that, and that's kind of one of the points too with some of our other contracted vendors as well. They have slightly some pay parity costs in there, but operational costs they haven't seen any in several years.
Is that in the contract that they're supposed to get that, or is that determined by corrections?
It is in the contract that we may look at it upon appropriations.
So we to blame.
Somebody believes it. I heard it. Usually they'll mail a little something and say, we need our money. We hadn't heard that brought up. That why haven't y'all given us the money to pay our past due money? Y'all ain't never asked for it. I heard everybody say, we're 8 years in the red. When you gonna give us a little check, a little something to straighten out what we owe?
Yes, sir. And I think that's one of the reasons we're trying to coming in the amended budget as well, and then also, so we're grateful for that. But we also, there's still some shortfalls that we have to address in the big budget.
I remember this first year, man, you really voted on now. Oh, boy.
Getting seasoned at this.
So much for the 8 years.
But I believe we provided some of that cost to the House Budget Office as we work through it. So some of our needs and some of our asks.
And I know I've asked this before, but is there any contemplation about taking high security personnel into the private prisons, or are you going to maintain that in the prison system? And we're just going to move the medium security prisoners to the private prisons while we're under the construction phase?
Correct. I think when you looked at the amendment, we had 4 modular core units in there. I think 2 of them were cut out. That's going to slow our process down a little bit, but the thought process is to move as many up to the private prisons that we can. When we did our internal look at our population, it was about 509-ish or so that we deemed that could go into the private prisons, and that's including to the 446 that we're already going to send them. So I know that we're in talks with some of the private vendors as far as other locations to send them to and to evaluate that. But I can tell you this: my and the department's preference would be to keep them in state, so we can manage that population and move the population as we see fit. Because this is a long-term solution process that we're going to do with these hardening projects, lock and control projects, and things of that nature, to have potentially have them housed somewhere else.
And I'm sure you've been asked this, but I don't recollect it. When is the Washington prison due to be completed?
It's going to start coming out of the ground first by March of this year, so it should be completed by the 2027 and 2027. So it's still 2 years out.
Okay.
I know we don't have, but I want to be sure the record. The modules,
Yes, sir.
I know you're desperate. You need. The need is definitely there. No questions at all. But the commercials for, who is it, Carvana? I don't like to mail me a car. I like to smell it and touch it before I pay for it. And right now, I've seen some nice looking pictures of some modules, but I'll be frank with you, we spent $100 million on something. Somebody ought to be able to go back and say, I saw it, I touched it, I believe in it. No, somebody who ain't got that close an interest in it. I
don't have any interest.
Somebody, no, but they're for you, and you need them.
Yes.
And so you've got an urgency about you that somebody else might look a little differently. I really have a problem with spending that kind of money on something we've never used before. And like I said, I know you need them. I'm not questioning that. But I told the people from the company, they need to find another name. I'm from rural Georgia. Marginal brings on visions of inadequacy to me. I've seen modular classrooms and all. So you got to get this out of my mind by showing me how good this product is. I'll be very honest.
And I think you're right. We talk to them about that when we go around trying to explain to everyone that while the words modular secure. They're high max units. They're maximum security pods is what they're called. But I guess the term modular is trying to get out of that, because the first thing that I thought as well before I went down there and smelled it, touched it, and looked at it was just that it was gonna what are we doing with this modular unit? But when I saw the manufacturing and the process that goes into that, I was sold. I was convinced that definitely it could work and it'll fit our needs. All right, flipping over to correctional officer recruitment. Again, that's at 19.7.5 on your tracking sheets, but you got the PowerPoint in front of you. They increased CO positions by 330. Georgia's currently operating at 1-to-4 CO to offender ratio, guidehouse examined staffing ratios in neighboring states, and Georgia ranks lower on the lower end of that scale comparatively. To fill our vacant to bring our field security staffing levels to 1-to-11 ratio seen in Arkansas, Mississippi, North Carolina, the goal is to add 882 positions over the next 18 to 24 months. The good news is that we're already on track and on progress to meet that goal. So the FY25, this fiscal year, we've seen a net increase of 296 through December of last year. So looking at it, adding that additional increase to at 20.1 million, we did our calculations, and to annualize 400 new hire that we're projected to have from 2025 FY25 with proposed 6-month step increase is about 32 million. In addition to continue to hire in FY26 at 40 COs per month, as currently trending through the third quarter, it's calculated about 12.1 million for a total projected to new hire personal services needed to fund that at 45 million. That variance is it's 24.8. So that kind of deals with the compression. We're hiring, again, I think with community supervision also spoke about that we use our vacancy money to fund some of the new hires that are coming on, and so we're hiring at a steady clip, and to address that, it's still a shortfall of about 24 million there to be on goal with that 1-to-11 ratio with our consultants. Flipping over to the next, safety security technology. We already talked about body cameras, off-site mail screening, additional offer of tablets. Mr. Chairman, if you want, we can go through it, and I appreciate the support and the amended budget to add a little bit more to that so we can support our staff. But
I don't have any issues with that. I think everybody was very positive about the addition of all that technology.
And the same thing, you all are very familiar with the digital forensics unit, the Overwatch unit, logistics, and the data intelligence advanced integration that was added into the amended budget. These numbers just annualizes that into the fiscal year 26. So
and I think the same thing, particularly on that Overwatch unit.
Yes.
That I think that'll go a long way.
Yes, that's a force multiplier for our staff, for the system. Yes, sir.
At Overwatch was a great point. It was just too strong not to be in the budget. I mean, you can't explain looking for improvement, and we appreciate you letting us know about that, because I think that was one of the main points.
And thank you all for supporting that.
They have a similar thing out here in security here at the Capitol, but it doesn't have Overwatch in it. It's just about 40 cameras spin up there, and when something happens, it doesn't necessarily jump out at you like it does when you have some form of anomaly in one of them.
Yes, sir. Again, over on the next slide, the critical maintenance and repairs. You all are very familiar about our needs and asks and repairing our building and infrastructure. That 15 million is going to be added to the existing base budget of 60 million for that. And so, again, we have a lot of projects going on, and I think that's very good use of that money to continue our infrastructure improvements throughout the system.
And I'll tell you, we're all in for fixing everything, but I don't think anybody can digest yet how long it's going to take to get those locks fixed. I keep hearing that everywhere I go, and
it is. And I think, and if we want to just take a few seconds or a few minutes, and we can kind of go back through that and explain that again about the procurement process, the design, the design piece of that, and then actually just procuring the lock itself. I mean, there's a lock manufacturer that we have to actually get them from. They only produce so many. There's only just a few of the manufacturers out there, and everybody's going to
That's
them
what
to
I was
build the
wondering
lock.
about,
So-
is if there was only one contractor, well, apparently there are many, and they're all booked up.
There's three. So,
Three.
And so everybody's competing for those three and getting in line and getting in queue to get them. And then also, again, doing the design project. So it's just not the lock. You're talking about lock and control, tying them back into the electronic system so we can get out of antiquated, just using
Well, I
keys
understand the
all time.
system.
So
I just,
it takes.
you know, we always get harangued and harassed about state government and bureaucracy being so slow, and you know, this is kind of a good example. Except it's not on you; it's on the manufacturer. But
And then also,
everybody's impatient that knows that prisoners can jimmy the locks and get out and walk around at night.
yes, sir. And I think also, and then also, of course, the population where the dry dock these facilities and move and house these inmates. That's why, again, I keep emphasizing. I know you don't like the max mods. I'm not going to use modular anymore. Our max mod units were definitely beneficial.
What about the private prisons? Do they have that type of electronic locking systems?
You might want to. I defer to them to talk about their. I don't know
Okay,
what.
they're coming up next.
Okay.
Let me ask you before you leave the lodge. It's been mind-boggling because so many people ask about this. And it is mind-boggling. In 50 states plus territories, we got a lot of prisons.
Over 6,000.
And you know, there are a lot of prisons. And with that much business, and if you order whatever your new name is for the X-trailers, but if you ordered one and they told you they could have it delivered, I think they said they can put it on the ground in 8 months.
The max mod units.
Yeah.
We'll have all of them installed before the end of the year. So we'll probably receive our first one right around the summertime, if not before.
Every one of those have a lot of locks in them. I don't know what supply they got, but it's obviously better than the one we've got. Because I just cannot believe that we can't buy max locks and install them any quicker than we catching a lot of heat for that, because the first time you presented, we're talking 5 years. Folks said 5 years to lock the place up. What we gonna do in those 5 years?
And that's 5 years. Is how many prisons, Alan, are we talking about? That was 18 locations.
Well, every one of them need to be locked down, no matter how many.
I agree with you.
That's still a long time to secure your prison.
And I think it's not just going up, like, again, it's not just going out to your locks. It's like some of them, the doors need to be replaced, door frames. You got to keep in mind, like, our average age of our prison is 36 years old. That's a lot of years and time, a lot of wear and tear. That door opening and closing, dealing with the population, and just them destroying the locks themselves. And so it's a lot of wear and tear on that. And we had a lot of deferred maintenance as well. And a lot of deferred funding that we couldn't constantly keep up with. So now, to use your words, Mr. Chairman, it's come home to roost, and we got to do something about it. It's got a lot more critical than we have.
You're doing a good job, but listen, it's your watch now.
Yes, sir.
Somebody dropped it a lot on the way, because that's like waiting till your tires get bald and blow out before you buy one. You got a point where you got to rotate the tires. Why in the world would we wait till the prisons deteriorate so bad before we try to repair them? I hadn't made sense of that yet. I mean, my goodness.
Well, I can tell you.
Tell us, please tell us. I got to tell folks that. Why?
Prison discussions are not very sexy. And in general, people around this state have little regard for prisons unless they have somebody incarcerated. Then they write me every day. But we have let it fall behind. And just to be perfectly honest, I think next year we're going to have some problem with juvenile justice. They've got some of the same issues, and we have to.
Yeah, because the people who live in these communities should be treated better than that. Yeah, I don't know how well I could sleep knowing somebody can pick the lock and get out and walk around and go back if they get ready.
I thought that was your conscience.
And I could have had the misfortune of living near the chairman. And so how would I sleep at night?
Good segue. Talking about the locks, and then on the next page there, you talk about our additional maintenance staff and Tiger teams to continue to rotate those tires, so to speak. That's going to go a long way of making sure that we continue to utilize that personnel to keep up with our maintenance and repairs, because we just can't let it get out of control again. So that 5-person Tiger team again is going to be going in. We're focusing on supporting our lock and control system projects for our ongoing lock and control systems and also maintenance on those. And we've talked about that in length. So that total project's at $19.2 million.
And I don't want to say too much because I believe you've been real forward thinking, and if we do most of these things and get it caught up, we won't have this problem again as long as we continue to maintain them. And
correct, you have to maintain them.
Right. I mean, it's with anything.
Absolutely.
Your house, if you don't maintain it, you have problems.
I will say, the inmate population will make a believer out of you. But so I would like to say we wouldn't have to go back and do it. But prime example, as technology, we have lock and control projects that we've actually implemented, but then realized that it didn't meet the standards, so we had to go back and invest back in there. But again, I think we found a solution currently that meets our need. That with a lot of maintenance, with continualized maintenance, it'll hold up for a while.
Okay, I don't want to beat all this to death. We've already been down some of these roads. The vice chairman wants to ask a question.
2 questions.
Yes.
You talk about the locks being jammed and that sort of thing. Do the guards check at night? Do they go through and make sure these inmates these doors are secured in the ones that can be secured, or is it staffed well enough to do that? Is it, just explain that to me. It's hard to believe that every lock is, I've tried to think about that since we had the supplemental and everything, we were talking about it, and I was just curious about that. But they do, like how you see on movies, they have lockdown. And they go by and they check it out. So all that's being followed, and as best you know.
Best I know, yes. But some of the things, it's lock manipulation. Sometimes the lock is just faulty, it's old. You have panels. To put it in perspective, you have panels on the inside of the cell. So while there may not be nothing stuffed inside the lock there, they'll be able to pull off some of that panel, get to the wiring, and pop it themselves with the panel that's in their cell. So there's a lot of different ways that they can get out. But not all the locks are faulty. You do have some that work very, very well. I can tell you with a new lock and control that has a visual and an audio component to it to let the officers know that that the door is secure. When it pops, it'll send an alarm out. And so that's been working very, very well. Of the ones we put in so far.
Well, we had talked a little bit about just putting a bolt on there and keeping them in there, but we didn't get anywhere with that. But the last thing I'm going to say, I'm going to beat this dead horse to death, is the drones and the phones.
Yes, sir.
They need to be shut down. Now, we're putting money in the budget to detect drones, but we can't do anything with them when we detect them. So I don't know what we need to do, but if you cut off that communication and that delivery service, I just see where things will get better. Now, I know you keep saying the FCC. We keep talking about that. But doggone it, I just feel like something major may happen if we don't do something. And let's just apologize to the feds if we cut them off. I just think we need to. I know we make light of something, but I am very, very concerned about those 2 aspects that go on, and I know you are too.
Yes, sir.
So I'm saying, let's us good old boys from down here in the South, we got a little common sense. Let's figure out how to get it done.
And I will say this, I think what we're doing here in Georgia as far as our mitigation efforts, of course, there's certain federal laws that are not going to allow us to intercept or do anything to bring the drones down.
Let's just apologize.
But what we're doing to mitigate drones and cell phones across the country, we're leading the way. In fact, we're leading the way so much that they've actually, they being the National Association, ACA and CLA, American Correctional Association and Correctional Leaders Association, the two big organizations for correctional space globally, has asked Georgia to take the lead on that as far as going around and also in conjunction with lobbying up at D.C. A couple of us, myself included, were up in D.C. giving several presentations over the last couple of weeks and talking to the stakeholders up there. We got some headway on there when it comes to drone mitigation, but we're just looking forward to see what that holds. But on the cell phone mitigation, I think we have a good solution in place right now. We just got to implement it throughout the rest of the state.
How long's, I mean, we put a lot of money in last year. How long is that going to take to complete for everybody?
We have the 13 that you guys put in support in the budget will be done by June of this year.
Okay.
June of this year.
Yes, sir.
His horse is struggling just a little. There's a little life left in him, so I promise we're gonna let him die a good death after this question. But based on your severe staffing shortage, having run a few businesses, I can't believe that every night there's proper supervision and checks. You're short, you're stressed, and that gives a person a good opportunity. It might take him 3 nights to peek through this lock. But it doesn't add up from a practical standpoint that you can come understaffed and religiously check every place every night. And how bad, because you know, some of these guys might not have a high school education, but they got PhDs in how to game the system. Doesn't take long to figure out when somebody's going to do the walkthrough, especially when they're periodicals.
They do a walkthrough or they do it by video?
No, they do walkthroughs.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You know, and that's hard for me. You know, when
Yeah.
you're that short, you just trying to survive.
I mean, yeah, they walk it through. Like I always tell people, you know, right now, some of our prisons where we are, staffly challenged is that, you know, we're kind of patrolling the prison, kind of like what you're doing out there on the street. You might not have anybody posted in particular buildings themselves, but we try to patrol the prisons. But I will try to put in perspective. I'm not sure if I shared this with this group or not. Like on an average key or average shift, on average, you might have 18 or so officers for offender population of 1,500 to 2,000. That's fully staffed. You know, that was back when we were fully staffed. So you think about if I was fully staffed at an average location, average size prison, or big mediums, you take out your diagnostic centers and your big prisons like that, you might have, let's say, on best days, you have extra people there, 20 people. That's a full shift. So to 1,700, 1,800 inmates. So, you know, you kind of put that in perspective of what we were dealing with if you were fully staffed, to your point.
Scares me when I put it in perspective. Really does.
So that's why I go back to say, you know, the men and women that show up each and every day and work inside there are truly, yeah, and they do a job for this profession. I think it's the toughest mission, again, like I always say, in public safety by far. But they show up each and every day and do their job with pride and respect and do the best they can. So I just want to publicly thank them again for what they do.
And we hear tales from guards. You know, I got a prison close to where I live, and I've been around law enforcement for a long time, and we hear these guards say maybe there might be 4 or 6 people in the prison when they got 1,500 inmates overnight, and I know you don't have people, you can't do anything about it, but it's just scary when the public hears about things like that.
Yeah, and it is, and most of that sometimes we may have 10 that show up. To work when they're supposed to have like 14, 15, 18, but you have hospital posts we talked about that have to run out. We have that kind of drives down. As soon as they come in, I got to send 4 people to the hospital because I have 2 inmates at the hospital. So again, that LTAC unit, some of the things that we're doing to address some of that will kind of help bring those people back inside the wire, so to speak, so they can help respond to incidents if it happens.
And that's what got my attention at Glenville. And I live 70 miles from Glenville, but I understand there were 1,500 high-security prisoners there when that incident occurred, and 4 guards were gone to the hospital, and that left six correctional officers there for 1,500 high-security prisoners. And
Yeah.
I don't know which way they're going to run if they got a problem. It's human nature being what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's move along.
All right.
Horse is dead now. We're gonna leave him alone.
Again, I think we look at the capital outlay. We already talked about our long-term acute care unit at 50.1.46, and then the additional construction costs to finish up McCray Women's Facility at 50.1.47. That LTAC unit that we were talking about is at 6.2 million. Again, we're spending 16 million annually. I think that's a very good investment on that to bring those services back behind the wire, so we can save on not only on the cost per day, but then also the officer post as well with that LTAC unit. So, and of course, the shortfall for McCray at 15.5 million, which just to shore up that.
So we only talking about 125 million.
Yes, sir. So I think the total amount on the 26 budget was 125 million, 125.2. It's not mine.
Any other questions? We appreciate you.
All right, well, thank you.
Appreciate you putting up with all our questions, and particularly some of them that have already been asked before. But I know you're getting tired. But
No.
for once, I think Representative Williams is right. You've really gotten professionalized in your verbiage since we began this. So
Max mods, remember those. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
And last but not least, private prisons.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I had a couple of things.
Sure. Just go ahead and tell us who you are and who you represent.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Jerry Langford with Core Civic.
And there are, 3 private prison systems now?
Yes, sir.
Service
So
Georgia.
Core Civic, we have 3. So we have a facility in Wheeler County. We have a facility in Coffee County, and also a facility in Jenkins County. Okay. And then I know that GEO, who will follow me, they've got 1 facility as well.
Okay.
So, first of all, Mr. Chairman, let me say thank you for working with us on the amended budget. I know that we have spoken with, I believe, every member on the committee in advance of that, and have had several conversations since then, both with yourself, your staff, and with other committee members. So just appreciate that, and know there's a lot of work forward for us on that. So we'll continue to do that work. But today, just wanted to talk about the fiscal year 26 budget. I think we touched on this a couple weeks ago when we presented. And again, I know I've talked to you, your staff, and all the committee members at length about the request. And so, as I described it last time, really 3 buckets that we're looking at there. And the first bucket is the 446 beds that the department has requested as part of the governor's budget. And under the current contract, we have a rate established, but the number that you're seeing there is based upon a new rate that we will need to establish once we go into the next fiscal year. Again, our contracts are renewed every year, and so that's an opportunity for both the department and us to take a look at any amendments we may be interested in making. So the intent would be, if the funding is provided, to then work to continue using those 446 beds at Coffee and Wheeler. I will tell you, the governor, I believe, put in his budget $5.9 million, and the delta between that and what we have there has to do with a couple of factors. One is just overall operational cost, and then the other is bringing on additional staff and then the pay increases or the pay parity associated with those staff. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. The second bucket, I think you'll see there, is the pay parity, and that is basically for existing staff who are at the facility. And again, we looked at the increases being proposed for GDC staff and literally went line by line and are providing those same increases for our folks so we can ensure that there's true pay parity.
Does that money that we appropriate for personnel services, does that go directly to the correctional officers?
Yes, sir. And I will tell you that we work with the House Budget Office staff and provide very detailed information related to those increases. Okay. And then the last bucket is just calling it contractual increase. And, I believe that's what Representative Williams was talking about, the fact that, we have gone so long without an increase, specifically Coffey and Wheeler, about 15 years, Jenkins really since it opened in 2012. And we have gotten some pay parity increases along the way, and that's certainly helped. Even though we didn't get increases for all current or future positions, we did get some. That helped, but outside of that, we have not received a contractual increase. And I think I provided a sheet last time I presented just showing just one slice of that, and that is CapEx, money we have spent on maintaining those facilities for the past 5 years, and that was $15 million. And that's just 5 years, not 15. And per our contract, we have to make sure that those facilities are fully operational. Good roofs, HVAC, go down the list. And we're just asking that as we honor that part of it, there is language in there that says or speaks to contractual increase or CPI, and we're just asking, for that because, again, it's been so long.
Where does the money come from for those repairs if you're not getting anything from the state?
That just comes out of our pocket. So any operation of that facility, when you all provide us with funding and we get a per diem, it is soup to nuts. We are paying for everything from the original development and building of the facility to maintaining the facility to paying employees, inmate health care, inmate food. You can go on down the list. And so you can see very quickly, if you're not getting an increase, it starts to just eat away, and you reach a point where it's just not sustainable. And we've had this conversation for a number of years. I know in the last couple of years really focused on pay parity, but now it is at a point where it's critical, and we have got to do something, honestly.
Any questions? God save us.
Been giving 90-day notices, but that notice didn't give 90 days there. It sounds like you want some money, man.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Will you take a counter check?
Let me make a call. I'll get right back to you.
Okay, we appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
No, I'm old school. They know electronic.
That's it right there. Okay. Understood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, appreciate you giving us the opportunity. My counterpart from Core Civic and myself, Emmanuel Barr from the GEO Group. I'm the Vice President of Government Relations for GEO. Thank you, members, for hearing us out. And I will just say, in the spirit of levity, that 90-day notice came from our company and not from Jerry's. And so, but in all seriousness.
I read your notice.
Well, it is in the right spirit that we ask for that. I think Mr. Langford put it best. At a point, you just get to a place of critical mass.
And you're for profit. It's not a non-profit organization.
It's not a non-profit organization, sir, right. But to Mr. Langford's point, and I think he said it so well, GEO spends a lot of money out of our own profits back into operational costs, and some of this delta that was created in the absence of the CPI increase across multiple years has eroded some of that. And so That's why we get letters like the one we sent out. I do want to.
You got a lot of attention.
I do recognize that as well, and that was from our executive chairman and our founder, who doesn't get in the weeds on many of these things. But I think, again, to Jerry's point, I think it's a place of critical mass. If I may just briefly explain what you were asking about earlier, in our contract, and I'm assuming the same is true of the other two contractor-operated facilities, or operators rather, in our contract at the renewal period, we are permitted to ask for an increase of per diem tied to an index. The one we use is CPI. I'm assuming the same is for Core Civic. We have to display that it's justified based on the index, and the state will review, request, approve, deny, or negotiate the amount of the increase based on state funding. And for invariably different reasons across many years from 2011 to date, we've yet to receive that CPI increase. I will say, to the credit of the department, and I know this has happened with the other vendors, they have offered the pay parity for our correctional officers. And I do want to give a special shout out to Commissioner Oliver and his team. Since he's been the executive over the Department of Corrections, he has been exceptional at making sure that not only GEO received that pay parity, but there is a treatment of what is commonly called the private prisons as one prison system in Georgia. I think he acknowledged this the last time we met together. We don't determine who comes to the prison doors in Milledgeville. That is a classification established by the department. Commissioner Oliver makes sure that we receive that parity, not just in pay, but in treatment. And so kudos to you and your team, sir, for the exceptional job that you've done since you've come on board. And also, Mr. Chairman, thank you to your staff, Courtney and the other people in the budget office. Courtney was on me as late as about 11:59 a.m. this morning, making sure that we did our due diligence, getting her the information that she needed. So that's the short summary. The ask, I think, as Representative Williams put it in his vernacular, the little something something that GEO is requesting, it is the tune of about $4.85 million. 3.75 covers those operational expenses, not dating back to the origin of the contract, the inception, but since 2018, that haven't been covered by previous per diem adjustments. There's a couple of other items, this is page 8, by the way, in case you're looking. $220,000 to increase non-security wages by 4% for fiscal year 25-26. $145,000 to increase mental health wages by 8% in the same time period. And then there's also so that totals $4.85 million. But as I mentioned before, Commissioner Oliver already built in the parity for this fiscal year to the tune of 4% for security personnel already committed for fiscal year 25-26, and that is about $735,000. So what GEO is asking for, or the little something something that Representative Williams represented earlier, is $4.11 million. As a poor kid from the south side of Chicago, I never thought I would work in public safety or anything to do with corrections. I should have known better because my father, and I think Representative Williams knows, I'm a preacher's kid. My father worked both in ministry and the community, but he also worked in community relations for the Chicago Police Department. And as I look backward, I have several family members who worked in the field of corrections. But none of them, and I can say this truthfully in my recollection, none of them do the exceptional work that our people in Milledgeville do with rehabilitation services. And I feel like, the parity that Commissioner Oliver has reflected in his budget is going to meet that need and reduce the problem of retention that we face in the state of Georgia. So again, great job there. But I feel like offering this addition to the per diems is going to also create better operational and rehabilitation services at GEO. Any questions?
Well, I've got in more of a statement. I get a lot of questions about private prisons, and you know, a lot of the public wonders why we utilize them. And truth matter is, if we didn't, we would spend multitudes of millions of dollars trying to keep up with the regular. But the other thing is quality concerns, and I know the answer to this question, but there is a representative of the Georgia Department of Corrections in every one of the prisons that makes certain that you meet the standards that they have to have.
That's correct. I often go around the United States, in fact, leaving here, going to Indianapolis, touting the same message that there actually isn't anything private about us.
Right.
We're government contractors, and to your point, Mr. Chairman, we have a Georgia Department of Corrections full-time employee monitoring the quality of the contract that we have to abide by. So that audit happens every year. We have several audits that we offer our own facilities to make sure that we're up to snuff. If you're a contractor, your bread and butter is doing what you're told. Our pride is that we go above and beyond that. So, but yes, in short.
Any questions? Should have known.
One thing's for sure. I'm sure that your daddy was or still is a great preacher, 'cause you sure got the DNA down pat now.
All right.
But
Okay,
now,
I appreciate
and we
that.
know that you're a for-profit company. So that's a nice set of threads you're wearing there. So you came ready.
It's a bar. I get it from my daddy. Actually,
Not bad, I know. So, but you all do a great job, and I echo the chairman in that without private prisons, we'll be in a mess. You do in some sectors have a PR problem, because there are those that just does not like private prisons. But without them, where would we be? And the department's on site, and you're obviously doing it. And I'm saying this for the very last time. Y'all should get your money. You need to get paid. I mean, I got
And the
some
church
friends.
said,
Amen.
amen. All right, that's all I've got. No, I appreciate that, Representative.
I got some friends that are fine people.
Yeah.
But if I lend them money, I want my money back. And something like that.
Thank you, sir.
Let me ask you one more question, and I think I know the answer too, but you still have the same issues with regard to phone service and the flying paraphernalia coming over and dropping things. And
In my experience, not just in Georgia, but around other facilities.
It's a universal problem.
Yeah, it is a universal problem in corrections in general. The drone technology is a part of a larger growing industry. Sadly, and I think I'm going to borrow Representative Williams' remarks about, for profit, there's a full billion-dollar industry trying to make money off of keeping the people incarcerated, addicted to drugs, and their families connected to it. It is a billion-dollar industry. We do have drone technology that we invest in as well.
the similar ones that we have.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have that, and then of course additional scanners and mail technology. But it's a growing problem, and we're trying to address it and keep step.
And this is neither here nor there, but I was in Waycross the other day on a fly around at the airport, and they said their number one problem was adjacent to them is a prison. And, all airports have fencing all the way around to keep animals from being on the runway at 2 o'clock in the morning when planes are landing and get hit. Mm-hmm. And they said their biggest problem is people cutting the fence at night and coming in and going along the fence line and throwing contraband over the fence. Mm-hmm. So now they've had to employ a bunch of security personnel to be out there through darkness. Mm-hmm. But they're doing some of it in the daytime because it's a rolling area and it drops over a hill where the fence line is and they can't see it. But it's just, and it's an enterprise. Not only they want to keep them addicted, some of them in there running criminal enterprises from inside the prison and making a lot of money. And that's enough of that. So, thank you very much for coming.
You, sir.
We appreciate. And we got a couple of people here on the sign-up list. I think we know them all too. First up is Earl Earnhardt, representing the Chiefs of Police. Spent 30 years in the Georgia legislature, was the rules chairman, and known for his pleasant personality everywhere he goes.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that pleasant personality comment. And Mr. Chairman and Chairman wannabes and my good friend, Representative Williams, who I sat next to for 20 years, and Representative Mathis, Representative McDonald. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to keep this brief. I represent the chiefs of police, and we're trying to balance up the state mandate for chief school. You have to train over 400 new chiefs every day. There's a state law that mandates the Association of Chiefs of Police to provide this training. It's only for command staff. We also train all of the heads of the department law enforcement agencies in the state, and that's ongoing training every year. Now just think about how many people that is. You have over 400 jurisdictions that are cities that your chiefs have to be trained. Now with that mandate, there's only one institution that does that training, and that's the Chiefs Association. They don't have an independent source of revenue. They can't raise taxes. They're not a municipality in that sense. The cities don't pay for this training. The only place they can get the money to train is from the state budget to do this. And that's been static for a lot of years. This committee helped us in some amount, pretty good amount, in the last 25 budget. But we're still 300 and I can't see anymore, Mr. Chairman. We're still $319,000 short of the training it takes. It takes $728,422 and a few cents to do that. I can provide this committee with the actual cost, the tables, the metrics. They're not looking to. There's no pad here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the actual cost. They can't go out and raise money. They do have a little bit of revenue from their trade show every year, and that's it. So if we're going to mandate it, we ought to. Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to get it to a place where the only time we come back in is ask for that index. And if we can put that $319,932 in, this will be the last time you see me come ask for that. But we have a responsibility as a state to actually pay for what we mandate. And that's what we're asking, Mr. Chairman.
Is that just for the chief school, or does that include the in-service training for executive level personnel?
That is the in-service training for the command staff at all of the state departments as well.
And chief school?
And the chief school.
Okay. 319,000. Well, I went to the chief school about 25 years ago, so I fully understand.
You see the great job they did.
Yeah, look where I am now. But well,
you're getting close to him making you a chairman with every one of those.
But you know, the problem is, and a lot of people don't know, is that when I went through there, they were told, all these new chiefs of police were told that only 50% of them would be employed in that similar capacity in that city the next year. So what happens there is there's such turnover. That's why the schools keep coming around.
That's right, and the cost
Yep.
are what they are.
Yep. I understand.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
I know you do, and I have to come and ask.
Well,
Thank you, Courtney. Anything else for me, Mr. Chairman?
I don't think so. Any
This is
questions?
your chance for a shot, Mr. Williams.
No.
All right, I can't wait to get in if you go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members.
How about Chandler Hayden and the critical response group? She isn't any newcomer around the Capitol either.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name's Chandler Hayden, and I'm here representing Critical Response Group. So, Critical Response Group is a company that does mapping. They've mapped Morehouse School of Medicine. They've mapped schools all across the state. They've also they mapped SoFi Stadium. So they've mapped different things around the country. They're a company that started in New Jersey. They were some people who came back. They were in special forces over in Iraq and Afghanistan. The man who started the company had gone to West Point and was, of course, over serving our country. When he came back, his wife was a teacher, in the New Jersey school system, and he ended up just mapping that school just because his wife worked there, and so then later started this company. So that's kind of our background. Over the summer, we worked with GEMA very closely in setting out some parameters for school mapping. Jason Anavitarde has introduced a bill, SB 17, called Ricky and Alyssa's Law. There are two parts to it. The first part addresses the panic buttons in schools and school facilities. The second part of it has to do with public safety and the mapping and how it is supposed to be provided to the EMTs, 911, fire department, police, state patrol, and the feds as well. So in the second section, let me put on my glasses. It talks about the mapping and how it should be mapped. So when we worked with GEMA over the summer, the 911 call centers were involved in this as well. So the language in the bill works with the next gen 911. So we worked very closely to make sure that it was going to work with all the first responders who would be coming to a school in case of another emergency. So in that, just a little background on schools that have been mapped already in the state of Georgia. So we have current Georgia schools that my company that I work for has mapped. Habersham.
There is another company, isn't there?
Oh, yes, sir. In
Last-
fact, in your information that I handed out is a list of vendors. So there are a lot of different vendors.
I just remember last year in Public Safety Committee
there were those questions, and I remember you do know that, Colonel
a Marine
Hitchinson.
was there explaining that, and
Yes.
he and the director of GEMA had some disagreements on a couple of points.
Right, but we've cleared all that up now.
Okay.
Well,
Well, he's left.
Yes, he left, but I promise I've still been working with Skylar and Anna. So, yes, that's all been cleared up. Senator Anavitarde actually had been working very closely. And, of course, Director Stallings it was actually one of his constituents in his district. So, all above board, I promise. So, anyway, the schools that we've currently mapped, the company that I work for in Georgia, Habersham County Schools, White County Schools, Chattahoochee County, APS, Stevens County, Hall County, Dawson County, Madison County Charter Schools, Savannah Chatham, Beaufort City Schools, and Clark County School Districts. Now, that doesn't include, so right now we think that approximately, well, the amount of schools have been mapped. We don't know what other vendors have mapped other schools. That's what we have with our information right now. In 2025 DOE data, approximately 2,323 schools are in Georgia. We have estimated there are about 1,930 schools remaining, but like I said, some of those could already have compliant mapping that would work with the language in this bill. The estimated remaining cost, well, let me go back
Who paid for those that are already in place?
The school systems did. So, state did not put any money in that. School systems initiated that themselves.
What about the communication program, the 911 enhancement? We just put some money in, well, they came before us yesterday for that, and we put some in supplemental budget for it.
Yep.
Will that be part of it, or?
I do not know. I just know that last year when I talked to Chairman Parrish, he said, we're not going to pass this bill out of rules if you haven't gotten it funded, so that's why I'm here today. So I'm just covering my bases.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I think that what was put in the budget for them is to actually, I know that there are a lot of counties around the state that have not already trans into the 911 next gen, and I know that because I work for AT&T too. But so I do know that there are a lot of schools. A lot of the counties that have not already done that. So I think that's actually what that is. But I'll defer to them
So
I'm
what
really
does
not sure.
SB 17 require?
So it requires, it mandates the schools to have compliant mapping and to follow the regulations set out in that bill.
Okay.
And then also, just to mention, to map a school, it's about $3,500 a school.
That's what I was wondering.
Yes, sir. Give or take, depending on the size of the school. So, a high school at North Atlanta High would obviously be a lot more expensive than Berrien County High. So anyway, it's about $3,500 per school, give or take. They take all the old blueprints. We don't know if these schools, how old they are and stuff. And then they map them. They do a walkthrough. But in the bill, and I think this is very key in the bill, is that none of the mapping requirements in this bill are trademarked or are intellectual property of a specific vendor. So multiple vendors can provide the maps. And then also it's supposed to conform to all the software platforms used by public safety agencies for free. And that was very important because, the first responders are the people who are going to the schools. They need to have those maps. They need to be accurate. And it also needs to fit into all the different platforms that they use.
Okay. And I don't know who's going to pay for it if it occurs, but we've given an average of $50,000 a year for the last 3 years to every school in the state.
Yes, sir.
And there's 40-some thousand again in this year so that's about $200,000 we've given to every school for school safety. And I think they're getting money elsewhere too, and certainly they all have budgets.
Right.
For safety, and I used to be the director of GEMA too, and we had school safety back then 25 years ago, but it wasn't quite what it is today just because of the world we live in.
Right. Well, what's a little bit different about this bill is that the panic button is one section and then the mapping is another section. We would, of course, defer to the legislature and to the governor's office as to where that should go. I am not asking for this money for GEMA. I just want to make that very clear and on the record. I will say that we do think that public safety should be involved, and to make sure that public safety and the schools are at the same table because the first responders will be using this.
It is, and I think we've got about $300,000 in it's $30 million, $3 million for school safety again this year in the House budget that the Speaker put in. So, and he's from my county, and I can tell you we've already got the buttons and got a school resource officer in every school in the county, and fenced all the schools, and got double doors where you can go through the first door, but the second door you have to identify yourself and be buzzed in. Make sure you don't have any weaponry or anything else in it. So.
Right. And also, when you think about technology today, you'll have, perhaps a student is inside the school and there's
the
an
last
emergency.
couple have all been that.
Right. And so they text their parent, and their parent calls the school. Well, the child has said the shooter is in the art room. The shooter is here. The requirements in here are to identify as someone in the school would identify the rooms and the entrances and
when
things
you hit
like
that button, it's supposed to identify exactly where it's coming from so that
sir.
people can go straight there. But I just don't know how they're getting the weapons inside the school and with students. I mean, most places, I don't guess we gotta shake everybody down when they go to school every day, but
I know, it's a shame.
It is a shame. I just can't imagine it in my age that we all used to have a shotgun in the back of a pickup truck and go hunting before or after school, and a pocket knife in your pocket, and nobody ever challenged any of that, and nobody ever got hurt.
Same at my school. Everybody used to come early in the mornings and show the deer they had just shot, and everybody had shotguns hanging up in the back of their trucks. So I understand. What?
They don't do a lot of things in Midway.
That was exciting. Y'all took your movies to heart.
Oh, it was very exciting, I'll tell you that. But I never had any fear that somebody was going to pull one of those shotguns out and shoot me either. So, yes, sir, it is. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Edward Lindsay, former majority whip. Tried to embarrass me when I was a freshman. Okay.
I don't recall. Oh, I knew he wouldn't. You talk about a whip. There's a real whip, literally.
Well, let me make it very clear that if I tried, I'm almost certain I failed. If I could ask you to.
Terry Norris wants to speak too.
I was generally pretty good at realizing when I was overmatched. Mr. Chairman, my name is Edward Lindsay. I'm here today representing Starkey Laboratories, which is one of the leading providers of active hearing protection devices. And I'm here to sort of tell you about, first off, tell you about a pilot program that was done through the equivalent to the Department of Public Safety in Ohio, in which they, for $3 million in their pilot program in Ohio recently, they were able to provide through a program in which local law enforcement agencies would apply. All total, about 7,000 law enforcement officers receive these active hearing protection devices. I know I don't need to explain to you or to anyone here who's from law enforcement the damage that takes place, the damage that happens to our law enforcement people on the job as a result of hearing loss, and the impact that it has on both them physically and their long-term health issues, as well as their ability to do their job. What $3 million in terms of a program would do here in Georgia would do similar, in which we were able to provide 7,000 law enforcement folks with these active hearing devices. That is at a, like I said, when you do it through a program like this, you get these devices at an enormous discount over what they're normally sell for. My client's not the only one. They would be competing with other folks providing this. They are one of the leading, if not the leading, entity that provides these devices. What these devices, they have a shelf, they have a life of about 5 years. They're the sort of things that go in the inner ear, as explained in what I provided to you here. They not only do they suppress the noises that create the damage, but they also enhance certain local sounds around the person, so they can actually do their job better in terms of both protecting their eardrums as well as enhancing their ability to do their jobs. I know that you've got a lot of people sort of pulling at you, Mr. Chairman, and I've heard a lot of interesting things being said today regarding our Department of Corrections and other things that are being pulled at you. But I cannot think of any program that, if we could put it in place here in Georgia, would provide this kind of direct, immediate impact to help our law enforcement people. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm on call on you to testify. I've been told around 28,000 law enforcement folks in the state. Is that right? Okay. But 7,000 would go a long way each year. But if we can put this in place, these devices go for about 5 years, and before you have to replace them. So if we could put a program like this in place and begin the process of allowing these local law enforcement agencies to come in to make the application with our Department of Public Safety, and then sort of start this program year in and year out, we can get all of our law enforcement people with these necessary devices within a relatively short period of time. And so, like I said, I realize you've got a lot of people coming at you from a lot of different directions, but I cannot think of a single thing that you could possibly put in the budget to start this process that would have such a direct impact on both our people that put their lives on the line for us, and also enhance their ability to do their jobs.
I just saw the photograph of them in the brochure, but do they wear these all the time, or is this when they go to the range? Or
No, this is something they would wear all the time.
you know,
That's what
we
they're designed to do.
I don't know whether it's Public Safety Training Center or the Department of Public Safety, but they already have a similar product. that,
They do, but these would be available to the person. Like I said, they are very high tech in their nature. I'll be happy to forward to you the exact web page that shows you what these devices will do. The particular program that's utilized in Ohio that my client was able to participate in is called a Phantom device. Something that they would utilize when they were on duty all the time in order to assist them, because it's not just to help them while they're at the firing range, but it's to help them while they are dealing out on the streets with high noise, bringing that high noise down and allowing it to filter out and still be able to do their job in terms of interacting with the public, interacting with each other, particularly in a crisis situation. That's what these things can do, as opposed to simply the devices that you see at the firing range. We would certainly, and more than happy to sort of chat with any member of this committee individually about it, as well as you, Mr. Chairman. Love to try to, and I realize the other constraints that you have. I'm fully well aware of that. But in terms of trying to get our foot in the door and get a program like this going, it's been a proven, effective method. It's been utilized in Ohio, like I said. It's been utilized in Arizona and other states as well. And we would love certainly to have the opportunity to get our foot in the door and start down the road to help all of our law enforcement people here in Georgia, starting fiscal year 26.
Good presentation. The truth is, I'm about deaf. I do fine in this, well, I got hearing aids, but to my wife's chagrin, I don't wear them.
Yeah.
And, but I'm fine in this kind of atmosphere, but when I get in where there are multiple people around, there's talk or background noise, I can't hear a thing. Over in 341 over there, we do the budget and all that. Last year we had a couple of these hearings in there, and I couldn't understand what was going on. But I'm sure it's a great product. They're using some of it already. Like you said, if you've been here for the whole thing, we got a multitude.
I know we do. And like I said, what I have given you would be a $3 million a year program. We would certainly love to have that. Certainly love to have a portion of that. Let me go beg for the Senate to give me additional money as well. But I think that it's a program that would be good to start now at some level, and then let us build up so that we could, within a short period of time, have a program that could help every law enforcement officer during the rotating through for the lifetime of these devices, which is about 5 years. So anything you can do to help me this year, help me down the road, help me with the Senate.
Of course, mine didn't come from law enforcement. Ever since I've been in that, we've worn ear protection on the range. So mine came from spending 13 months in Vietnam in the Marine Corps.
It wasn't doing no fighting.
Well, I think what these things will do, is law enforcement likes them because they're not like some of these other devices, cheap devices that you see. These are pretty high-tech devices.
I've used some of them at the range,
and
you
so,
can't tell the difference.
And one of the things that helps getting it used is something that the law enforcement officer doesn't feel it's blocking them out or feeling like they're isolated from their community. Instead, it actually assists them when it comes to interacting with the people, in a loud situation on the side of the road. Help! I got rear-ended a little while ago, and I remember that poor law enforcement officer was trying to talk to me and the other person out on the side of the connector on I-85, and that's awfully difficult. But these sort of devices would help her in her job. Not only would it help her health in the long run, but it would also help her simply on her job when she's trying to talk to me and to other people with an accent.
Well,
That's the sort of thing.
You've talked long enough now. You generated a couple questions.
What?
Number 15.
And I realize I'm at the end of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay.
Thank you.
Being a hose roller for 27 years, I'm very loyal to them. No offense to you. I've given you your love today already. But we're the ones that always have to extricate the law enforcement out of their cars. Is there any type of design that this too would work in fire service? Because
yeah, I mean, no, it can.
You just put them in when you go out.
It would also apply to the fire service people.
Okay, I was just wondering.
No, I talked about law enforcement, but in Ohio, for instance, it's public safety. It would assist both law enforcement and anybody, fire and that sort of public safety that would be facing that kind of loud device. Yes, sir.
I got you.
You just put them in like earplugs, but it blocks out the loud noises.
Yeah.
Number 16.
Just a quick question. Considering that it's commercial off the shelf, is there a bulk discount? And if so, what's the minimum you
a
need?
great example would be would the cost that was in Ohio, for instance, the cost if you were simply going out and buying it individually, you or I do, versus being able to buy it bulk. And that's one thing that the advantage of going through the Department of Public Safety, which would also be working with the various folks to be a competitive bid, and then have the folks through the grant program. Yes, the cost goes down dramatically.
Is there an insurance program that goes with it? Like
There's
you
a-
lose it?
There's a warranty.
Is just a quick one. Is there a minimum amount you need to avail yourself of any bulk discount?
That I do not know. But $3 million would certainly get you there.
Representative Williams.
This is my swan song. Ed, can
I
you
doubt that.
put a little, you put a little something extra in there and issue them to members of the House, particularly right before devotion? 'Cause I know that I'm gonna be in trouble when I finally leave this place, but can you save me?
You're not leaving,
Put a
are
little
you?
more money in there, man.
You're not leaving, are you?
I'm negotiating an exit contract.
Well, all I can say is that Representative Williams is very dear to me because he was the representative of my two children, my son and my daughter-in-law, when they were stationed at Fort Stewart.
Sure.
They
were very proud of me too, and I thank them.
Yes, indeed.
We got one more if you want to stay.
One more. I'm a pass. Would you please transcript that to me? Send it by you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Happy to sort of chat further with you.
Okay.
Anything you can do with us with the budget, I'd appreciate it.
Ms. Terry Norris wants to speak to the Executive Director of the Sheriff's Association.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know it's late today.
Well, you noticed everybody left when they realized you were going to speak.
Yeah, I know. All the money's gone, all the people are gone. So, no, I do appreciate you adding me at the end here. You all know this. I say it a lot of times. The Office of Sheriff performs many, many unique mandates, of which historically General Assemblies and governors have placed upon the Office of Sheriff. So at the Sheriff's Association, y'all are very kind to restore the amount that we needed to get through our sheriffs-elect. We had 39 new sheriffs. I spoke to y'all last week or week before, whenever it was. And you also annually, as you do with the Chiefs Association, through the Georgia Post Council, you give us some money to help train sheriffs and deputy sheriffs and specialized units in sheriff's offices throughout the state. Our number, I think, in the budget this year is $599,000 and some change.
Is that in post budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So it's already there.
Okay.
But I did want to say that we spend through this Sheriff's Association about almost 1.3 million a year. So we raise that difference in that amount. And what we do is all of these people, not just sheriffs, we have 3 sheriff's conferences a year, but we have 4 or 5 more other conferences for specialty deputies. For instance, sex offender registration. In 04, I think Ed was here in 04, y'all passed, the General Assembly passed all-encompassing sex offender registry law. Jerry Keene did that. 05. So Jerry Keene did that. And with that, sheriffs were already registering sex offenders, but with that came a lot of extra. And the training on that law alone that's our biggest conference. We have that conference every year. It's about 300 people. And just like with any other function in the sheriff's office employees change. So we're constantly trying to re-educate on this matter and others to the newer deputies assigned to sex offender registration. Y'all might know this. The GBI keeps a statewide database on sex offenders, but the sheriffs are the ones that register sex offenders annually. They're the ones that track and maintain records on where they live and all that. So
They're the ones that get notified when they leave the prison system.
that's right, and we get notified then, and out of state, and we're going to hopefully have a bill on that too that kind of cleans that up. But I guess all I'm saying to you is, if there's a way to help us a little bit more with the association, no matter the amount, we would greatly appreciate it. We're going to live and be happy with what you've done for us thus far. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you for giving me a minute, and thank you for your vote today, both of you, in the Public Safety Committee. You voted no?
No.
We didn't get to vote. I came over here after they decided it was just gonna be for a hearing.
No.
You did? How'd it go?
You spoke.
Okay. I spoke, but they, when they said it was gonna be for hearing only, I left.
The next one. The one that he cared about was
Second and the third one.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Thank you for that.
The sheriff one we did.
I'm leaving double up on it for him. He was a great guy.
2 times nothing. If I may be excused, thank you.
So, thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you for giving me a minute.
Anybody else, have anything to say for the good of the cause? We're adjourned.